then get Ashley introduced. All right. This morning, our presenter is Ashley Brianna Crane. She's with the University Library, and she is an Associate Learning and Curricular Services Librarian at Texas A&M University Libraries. She supports the College of Art and Sciences by working to instill lifelong information literacy and library research skills through library instruction and curriculum design. She has worked with learners of all ages throughout her 15 plus years of experience in academic, school, and public libraries. As an International Society for Technology Education certified educators, Ashley's passions for emerging and educational technology has led her to serve on the University Library's Generative AI team, develop AI workshops for undergrads, and present and publish on the integration of educational technology in diverse learning environments. Ashley's research interests include effective information literacy, instruction, active learning, educational technology, and the information behaviors of educators. Ashley, you can start your presentation.
Well, thank you. Awesome. So one of the things I didn't mention in that intro is that I was once upon a time an elementary school teacher. So this is why you have Valentine's hearts as a part of our presentation today. So welcome and thank you for giving me part of your time. Our topic today is AI and the information search process. This is just one element of the libraries and what we do, but it's kind of interesting to see how AI is starting to change that process. So agenda, we're going to look at the information search process as a whole because you may have never seen what that looks like, at least to a librarian. We're going to talk through each stage and the way AI can help. And then I'm going to give you an example of the AI that exists within the library resources or a freely available tool that could do the same thing or similar thing. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some things to think about. So up first, this is the simplified version of the information search process. It has these 5 stages. Most often when we see people in the library, they've already done that yellow part, the identify a need for information. That could be their research topic. It could be a student assignment. It could be a life event. But they have already figured out what that need for information is. And so we don't help so much with that part, but we do help with the rest. So looking at this first one, define the topic or question. Some of the ways AI can help us with that is to brainstorm ideas, discover background information, and visualize commonly connected topics. So for brainstorming ideas, you can use any of the available large language models, and they will help you just brainstorm ideas. It's almost like going back and forth with a small group or with another person. You know, what are some topics? What could I go look at? And this kind of helps some of our students that go into, well, you can write anything you can write about anything you want, something you're interested in. And sometimes they get that like blank page, blank face look that goes, but I don't have any ideas. And this is one way AI can help build those. The next one is discover background information. Sometimes we need to know more about it before we can research it, right? And so these are 2 library tools that do have that AI that's already pulled up. The discovery layer, that big search bar on the library homepage, that's what this first box is. And occasionally, if you will put in just one topic, it will pop up with this research starter, and it will give you some great background information. We also have some other e-reference tools like Oxford Reference that when you put in a topic, it's going to define things for you based off of the encyclopedias and other reference sources that it has within its collection. Similarly, you can use this with a free tool as well. One of the things we tell students a lot when we ask them to go out and find background information, they're looking for important words, right? What are some terms or concepts that they need to know? What are some ways other people are saying it? And sometimes this can help pull that information out. All right, so visualize connected topics. This is one from one of our Gale databases, Academic OneFile. And this is actually their browsing visualization. So you can go in and hit browse and then add a topic, and you'll get this kind of thing where it will take the top or the first 100 words of a subset of results, and then it will create this graphic based off the algorithm. And you can actually go in and it's dynamic, right? So you can move it in and out. You can see, you know, if I were to pull up sports fans, I could dig down further and see what other associations might there be. And this is really great as we prepare for a search because it's giving us those alternative terms, right? Or giving us an idea of, well, maybe I can't talk about Walter Cronkite, but I can expand that out into other topics that relate to him, right? This is a new tool that I have come across recently called Litmaps. It's one of those free tools. You get 2 free a month. But it does this really neat thing where you tell it, or you give it a DOI or a URL or even a topic, and it will create for you this citation map. It does have a limited bank, right, of articles, but it does some really cool things as well. And this is also a dynamic tool where you could zoom in and out. You could see why this Park 2020 is off in the bottom left-hand corner, but doesn't have any strings attached. But if I were to hover over that one, it would show me its relations to other ones on the page, right? And so this is one of the ways we can help people see, well, it's important to look both backwards and forwards from a topic, what has been said about it, and what are people saying about it now. This is a really hard concept to get across to undergraduate students. Our graduate students are much better at that kind of interpretation of things. All right, so the next section is design a search strategy. And ultimately, AI can help you with basically building the search string. What it cannot do is tell you where to search. If you put in to one of the large language models, it will give you examples of places you could look, but it won't like recommend databases. That's what you come to the library for. So this is that big search bar again. It actually has this ability to do smart searching where you click on that button and you put in a word, a sentence, a paragraph, and it will generate a search string based off of what you put into it. So you don't even have to think about, you know, what are the orders of the words? What are the connectors that I need? It will build all of that for you. The only caution I have is that sometimes it will give you a more narrowed search than you necessarily need, right? When we think about pulling information, we need to be thinking flexibly. So it will sometimes give us more than we can handle, and we need to figure out how to pull that back a little bit. So this is one from ChatGPT that gave you some different terms that you could search for. I have a librarian who's been pulling different examples as well, and you can actually say, you know, how do I combine this into a search string, and it will take those terms and combine them. So kind of a fun thing. Access and retrieve information. This is probably where we're going to see AI the most, and also where we have the most problems with AI is in this. Actually, hold on, let me rephrase. We're really going to have the problems in the evaluation part, which is the purple box. I apologize. I got ahead of myself there a minute. So 2 of the ways that this can help, it can suggest sources and it can summarize text, right? A lot of times when individuals are going in and looking for information, they're not going to read the whole 26-page article, but it is good to have the abstract. And not all of our databases do have that abstract pulled up and available. So that summarizing text does help. So suggest sources. I know that this screen is a little bit busy, but I wanted to give you examples of what the suggest sources looks like in different databases. Over here on the left, we have JSTOR. This is one of the databases that our undergrads come in knowing. And this is usually on the right-hand side of any page or any search results. But it does kind of give you that option to go look at related things that you may not have considered before. EBSCO Search Ultimate, the pictures of the videos at the bottom, that appears in a lot of our EBSCO databases. And what it will do is it will, based on your search results, pull in videos that might be useful to you, videos and images, sometimes some unexpected sources besides text. And then this one over here on the right might be my new favorite. This is out of ProQuest Dissertations and Theses. Having worked with graduate students for quite a long time, they're always looking for that foundational research, right? This is the key. What is this seminal point? And what ProQuest has done is kind of tailored this algorithm to what is the essential foundational information based off of the search results that you have. Right. So I'm really enjoying that one. How accurate it is, we would have yet to see, but good things to think about. Summarized text. This is out of Nexus Uni. This is another one our undergrads know pretty well. And surprisingly, this summarized text option is currently only available on newspapers. I'm still confused why, but it is a smaller subset. But it is one of those things that if you didn't want to read the whole thing, it's going to give you the short version. And Nexus Uni tells us that that is not necessarily generative AI, because what it is doing is pulling up the most important sentences out of the article rather than creating a summary itself. So kind of an interesting thing to note. I apologize for this being a little blurry. My screenshots were not working super great. This is a tool called OpenRead, where you can upload an article and it will create a paper espresso, right? Where it will create this summary. It'll give you, separate it into the different sections and then give you little synopses of each of those sections. I happen to really like this one. I think it is spot on. You only get 3 a month though. So if you're going to use research out of that, or if you're going to use this tool, you might consider spacing out your lit review. All right, so this last one, evaluate gathered information. So here are some of the ones where we've gathered all of it. Now we're going to see, does it really match, right? And so some of the ways AI can help here is having conversation about the text, right? And identifying key points. We saw early, this OpenRead one could also fall into that summarize key points, correct? So some of the tools do both. But we have some new tools coming out in different library sources, or resources, excuse me. This is JSTOR. They have a AI research assistant in beta test at the moment. It's not available yet. One of our librarians has access, so we are able to play with it and get an idea of what that's going to look like in the future. But hopefully, if we get it, you'll be able to pull up in JSTOR an article and then have a conversation on screen with the AI about that article. So instead of just a summary, you could ask it particular questions. You could ask it to recommend content off of that. It really becomes an all-in-one. So we're excited about that one. We also trialed Web of Sciences Research Assistant just before Christmas. And so we're looking at the feedback from that. We also trialed Cite, which does a similar thing. If there is an AI tool, research assistant style tool that you would be interested in trialing, please let the libraries know so that we can attempt to get a trial to find out what the community really wants and needs. All right, so this one is Semantic Reader. This is another one that will both have a conversation about a text and point out the key points. I particularly like this one because it will give you things like the methods, and then it will actually give you a tag this is where the methods appear, here, here, and here. Sometimes our students struggle with, but what was the research question? Or what was the impact, right? And so this is going to be able to help them skim the article more effectively and decide if it is relevant to their topics. All right. So some things to think about. You're probably all aware, but that sometimes AI does hallucinate in terms of giving us what is essentially a nonsense source presented as a real source. And this is just because our AI generally, you know, it's a lockstep thing. What is the most commonly next word, right, in these things? So what the problem with that is that often across the higher ed community, we will get people requesting things through our Get It's For Me service, which we absolutely want you to do, but you're requesting the nonsense source. And so our staff is spending a lot of time trying to go through and say, does this source actually exist? Can I go down the rabbit hole and find these things? And sometimes they really can't. I mean, we're willing to do a little bit of the searching because we don't always get complete citation information, and sometimes it's wrong. But if it's this nonsense source, that really proves a problem for us. So if you'll remember, if Get It For Me says it can't get it, it probably doesn't exist. Okay. So one of these things to think about. I mean, there are other reasons Get It For Me won't be able to get some things, but we are A&M. We are part of some amazing words. We're part of some amazing collaborations between libraries, and so we do have an excellent network to try to get you anything that you do need. But if the citation is wrong or nonsense, we're going to really struggle. Okay. Other things to think about: biases in training data. This is one of the things where when we compare the large language models that are freely or paid available and those that are available through library resources, they are going to be trained on different data. And so the biases that exist in that data will come out in the tool. So things to think about, right? Not necessarily bad, but things to think about. And then the other caution I have for you is that you could unknowingly break copyright by adding to an AI's training database or training base by uploading articles and other things. We do have some really robust tools right now that are available for academics that do have agreements with publishers for those things. But to err on the side of caution, make sure you understand whatever tool you're using and whether or not it had access to some of these things and whether or not it had it legitimately. Okay. Well, that's really all I had for you. Trying to give you just a taster of what AI and the information search process could look like. So I'm more than welcome to have a discussion or answer questions from this point forward.